We got my friend Cameron Goldsworthy called in. How you doing, Cameron?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing dang near skippy. If I can't be better. God's great.
Hell, God is, let me tell you something. God is actually, each corner is a triangle. It's the strongest shape in the world, I do believe. Loaded from some points. But, I tell you, it's been a pretty busy first of the year so far. I mean, what is it, May?
Yes.
Sometimes I forget the dates. I forget the day of what. I mean, obviously this weekend, other than at Tri-County, I don't think there's going to be a lot of racing going on. I think Southern's already canceled.
And I hadn't heard if Big South canceled or not. But
now I don't know. They have had a tremendous amount of rain over there. So I'm pretty sure.
They probably will. And to be honest with you, as bad as I want to race at Tri-County this weekend because I love working there, I think we're going to get rained out because it's showing lots and lots of rain.
Well, the days are going to make the right decision based upon the drivers. They 100%. There's people that travel a pretty good amount, and obviously they make money and put back into their racing program. If they get there and they get rained out, then it's a bad deal. So hopefully they'll take that into consideration, and I'm sure they will. I don't think I've been to Tri-County, and man, it's been quite some time since I've been up there.
I tell you what, next time you come, you get to hear me announce, and I'll definitely shout you out and get you on the mic some.
Oh man, that'd be pretty awesome. I haven't been on the microphone at a racetrack since me and old NASCAR Ron was down there at North Okaloosa Motor Speedway.
Wow,
that was back when Ohio Cheatham had it. That was a long time ago. That was probably 1997.
Really?
98,
wow.
Somewhere around in there. Oh, yeah, that was back when old James Ushery was driving Hobby. And those are the days when old Howie Reeves would leave his car at the racetrack, and he'd show up, put some gas in it, put a setup on it, throw some tires on it, and go racing.
Wow.
That was back in the good old days,
Oh, if I see him.
Yeah, I mean, he asked him a long time ago. He used to, it's either him or Cleo Heath or what? No, not Cleo Heath. Oh, geez, man, it was a long time ago, back in the early '90s. Probably. Wow. Let's see. When I was working with Tom Garrett, we were it's in '93. We'd go over there on Friday night. We'd win. Leave there, go to race a Saturday at Southern. Good chance we'd finish in the top 5 or sometimes win. That's back when, they had 60 cars in Hobby. 20-car field for the feature. 21 if somebody decided to win their consi, or 22, win their consi, forfeit their money, and then go and race in the feature. And that's... Man, I tell you, the car counts really come down in a way, but in a way, at certain tracks, it's gone up. You see some of the cars in the more expensive classes, the car count's up. Some of the lower end classes, the car count's down. Explain that to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I really don't. I've been traveling with a bunch of racers this year, been extremely busy. Been blessed to be able to be hired to do a lot of stuff that I love to do. I'm actually right now in Milton over at James Gilmore's and Ricky Gilmore's shop working on their stuff.
Awesome.
And just trying to get a head start on racing for the next couple of weeks because I don't know exactly what all is going to be going on with my schedule. And I know his schedule's always busy. James, he'll be sitting there in the chair and say, hey, I think we're going to go here this weekend. I'm like, well, hold on. Let me see if I can make that happen. So it's just one of those things. Yeah, we went up to Sonoya and Penton. Didn't have the best of luck. He was racing side by side. We was running limited late model in that. We was qualified 5th, I think. And on a start, we start on the outside of the 3rd row for some reason. And him and old Knowles got together, and he shot off the racetrack like a missile. And I was like, man,
Ooh.
this ain't good. Brand new race car. So he wound up coming off the racetrack and sandwiching the oil pan. When he came off the racetrack, he went airborne and landed square. Ooh. And that was kind of a holy cow. Didn't realize that. So we get the car back together. We're at Clint Smith's shop. Get the car back together. And all of a sudden we get to the racetrack. This thing's smoking again. We still couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, come to find out, you got John Boy and Ricky Gilmore, and James, they get on top of that stuff and look at it. Had sandwiched the oil pan and beveled it out to where it was shooting oil out the side. Ooh. So we qualified, I think, third. And I said, well, he says, Cameron, I hate it for you. I'm sorry I let you down. I said, James, you'll never let me. Gilmore that came over to my house after my accident picked me up and drove me to Milton to work on a race car, and I'd spend the day with his dad, and he would drive me back to my house in the evening. And he did that 3 or 4 times a week for about, I don't know, close to about 3 or 4 months. And, you know, if it wasn't for people being in my corner when I had my accident, I would not be in the position I am in now. Number one, God, for not allowing me to leave, so.
Amen.
That's
look,
been a blessing.
So do this. So your story is phenomenal. So for those that haven't heard your testimony of how awesome God is, tell your testimony about what happened.
Well, you know, Jared, you and I have had a lot of conversations, and you know, some of them been very deep. And where our relationship got really tight is how much you appreciated, you know, what I do, and it really means a lot. And I want to thank you, number one. Being on your show, it really means a lot to you for somebody to ask me to be on it. But to get to my story, August 3rd, 2002, I was at Southern Raceway, and I was struck in the head with a tire doing about 100 miles an hour. It was a narrow Tile City retread beadlock that came off of Jim Martin's car. It came off the racer. We had stock lug nuts, which pulled through the 5 or hole in the wheel. Went down the backstretch, flew up in the head about 100 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Well, Jeff Smith was an EMT paramedic for Choctaw Beach at that time. Firefighter. He's the one that basically saved my life. If you would not be talking to me now, if he wouldn't have been there to do his job that he didn't have to do, but he did it anyways. So they life-flighted me from the racetrack to the hospital. Going over the Escambia River Bridge on the way in life flight, my heart stopped beating and I stopped breathing. As your foot touches the ground as we speak right now, and the helicopter touched the pad, my heart started beating again. They estimated my heart not beating for 4.5 minutes. Woo. And they put me in a drug-induced coma for a little over 8 days. And I was in a hospital for a little over a month. Lost my memory for about 3 years. And they come up to me and asked me questions, and I had no clue who they were. Basically, the doctors told my family when I was in a coma that it wasn't looking good. They didn't think what I was going to be able. They didn't have any expectations of where I was going to be, where I am now. Obviously, doctors still today I talk to on a regular basis, and they're, you know, I'm very blessed to have them in my corner to help me get to where I am. But number one, God, it wasn't time for me to leave. My youngest son wouldn't have been here, Cameron Goldsworthy. You know, he is now he's a mechanical engineer, which turned in, I've told you that story before, he turned into an engineer with a 4-year mechanical engineering degree before he turned 20. But he asked, how in the heck did you build such a smart kid being hit in the head with a tire like that? I'd always blame it on my wife. She's a smart one. So, you know, that day on the way to I was not supposed to be at that racetrack. I actually, at the last minute, within about 8 hours before I had actually left the house to go, I had a phone call from B.J. Henley, Mr. Henley, Derek Henley's dad. I'll sponsor you if you want to go racing. And Dan Allen of Danco Transmission, which me and him won a lot of races back in the early 2000s. And so make that a long story short, we wound up hold on for just a minute. I lost my train of thought just for a second. We wound up, B.J. Hanley was sitting down as the helicopter was taking off in life flight. And Dan was walking in the gate as they were working on me down there in the pit area. And also, don't ever divorce papers with you to the racetrack because you'll get hit in the head with a tire. I did have divorce papers. I don't know where they are. I still have the same wife. I knew it was a good idea to keep her because she didn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
And, and I go to church as much as I can, like every Sunday. And, I wear a cross around my chest that my grandfather, when he passed away on my birthday in 1991. He passed away on 1991, June 26th. On June 27th, I put this necklace around my neck, and I never took it off. It's a Mariner's Cross. And
wow.
When I was in the hospital, I was having a problem with scratching my chest, and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. And they said, we got to run this test. They called in all the doctors. Oh, he's got an allergic reaction to this. And then about 4 hours goes, necklace out of her purse, puts it around my neck. And I stopped. Doctor said, wow, what does that necklace mean? He said, it belonged to his grandfather. He's never took it off since 1991.
Wow.
Put it back on, everything was fine. And that was, the start of me getting better. I had to go to Pensacola, 3 or 4 times a week for counseling and try to relearn everything. I had to go through elementary school again, middle school, high school, to try to relearn everything. I still know how to spell. So I got an excuse, but still, you got to watch out for it. I can't use it all the time. But for some reason, I stayed in racing. I went back to racing at Southern Raceway to let people know I was still alive. Did that in 2005. Matter of fact, Pam had Motor Graphics, a huge sticker package job for me. And it was pretty amazing. And, Bill Gamble, that actually is the announcer at Southern Raceway, worked for the Milton Gazette. May still do. And he did a huge article on the Southern Miracle Comes Back to Racing, and it really made a big statement. He owned the racetrack at the time, and they took care of all. Every driver had a $50,000 medical insurance policy as a member of Southern Raceway at that time. Well, I had that spent before I got to the hospital.
Wow.
But if you see me running in the pit area, you better watch out. Now I got a bike. But, it's just safety in the world of racing. That accident should have never happened. You don't ever put stock lug nuts on any kind of racing car at all, period.
Amen.
It's just, it should never happen, and unfortunately it does. But I worked with a lot of really great drivers in the country, and it's, here lately, I got the opportunity to work with Scott Bloomquist. That was pretty impressive. He called me up. I thought somebody was playing a joke on me, so I hung up on him. So Devin Jones calls me and says, Cameron, did you just hang up on Scott Bloomquist? I said, no, I hung up on somebody that sounded like Scott Bloomquist or thought he was Scott Bloomquist. He says, no, Cameron, that was Scott Bloomquist. He said, you need to call him back. I said, no, you have him call me back. So we called and we talked. Wound up at the PRI show. I actually went over to a casino or a resort over in Biloxi, the Beau Rivage. And Devin has a penthouse over there. And so I walk in there, and of course I was working with Dalton Cook at Southern Raceway that night. And that Friday we had won Friday night, the race. And they're all asking me, are you going to go over and talk to Scott? And I said, well, I can't really give that answer right now because I don't know. Well, why not? You should know this. I said, well, that's taking on a big responsibility, and I got to just see how it's going to go. I'll know when I wake up in the morning if I'm going. So I woke up that morning at 5:30 with all kinds of energy. So I went down at the gym, did my cardio, and I said, wow, I guess I'm going to Biloxi have a meeting with Scott Bloomquist. I went over, drove 2.5 hours over there, get to the Beau Rivage, and I'll have some pictures and stuff I'll put on my Facebook picture and all that stuff. We sat down and talked, and Scott, the funny story about this is I told myself I'd never work for this man. I had a small grudge. The day I got hit by that tire, I had an autograph, first time ever wearing Scott Bloomquist's shirt. Go figure, right? So I told Scott, I said, hey, man, I'll work for you, but, hey, I'm not going to wear one of your shirts. So this went on for a while. We didn't talk at all about the shirt until the PRI show, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we had talked about tires, and I showed him a little bit of small little taste of what I do to some stuff, and his eyes got really big. Well, before I got over the bridge, leaving Biloxi, Devin Jones had called me twice. He said, Cameron, you really opened his eyes. It's pretty impressive. So he'd really be interested in taking this to the next level. So at the PRI show, Wade and Brown and Miller, they take care of a lot of fittings, lines and stuff for NASCAR and all of racing, decided to take us all out to St. Elmo's Steakhouse in downtown Indy. And, of course, the steaks are like $80 a piece, and, the bill was way over a couple $1,000. Thank God I didn't have to pay for that. But I was blessed to be able to be there. So all of a sudden we're sitting there talking, and Scott says, hold on just a minute. I said, what's up? He goes, he stood up out of his chair, and he looks down at me, and he says, you know what? I think that shirt that you wore that day might have saved your life. I looked up at him, and I stood up, and I said, man, we're going to win a lot of races. First time I ever worked with him at a racetrack, me taking care of all the tires, was at Alltech. I worked with him a little bit deep south at the Hunt the Front series, but I actually did a lot of stuff at Alltech, and we wound up finishing second behind Joseph. And, it was pretty special, and he looked at me and he told me, he says, Cameron, even though we didn't have the right package on the car, which I didn't give you enough time, we finished second. I said, well, we'll have the next package ready next time. This is all a learning curve for me on how to operate with you, and obviously you're the godfather. I'm just in your world passing through. So he really gave me a good compliment, and that really meant a lot to me. And he's like really shocked that, somebody got hit in the head with a tire is doing his tires at Alltech Speedway in 2024. It's pretty cool. So I've got a lot of good relationships in racing, and I really focus on safety a lot. This fuel arrestor that you guys are pursuing and pushing is something very special in the world of racing. A lot of people don't realize exactly how and what that product and how it can help save somebody's life.
Yes.
There's, I'm sure there's little small things that you have to tinker and, make it all work out. The biggest thing is maybe weight or whatever, but safety, it doesn't matter about all that. We can engineer anything around weight and safety.
Yeah, because, people tell me the number one thing I get, I'm going to be honest here, I'm going to speak my mind here. The number one thing I get, I have all these drivers tell me, and I'm not going to name no names because I ain't about causing drama, but I've had all these drivers tell me, well, if they'd make it mandatory, I'd buy it. I said, why should something be mandatory that would save your life have to be mandatory before you'd buy it? You know how stupid that sounds? I just want to throat punch them. And I ain't trying to talk bad about nobody. I just want to throat punch people that say stupid stuff like that. Like, if it's going to save my life,
the bad part about it is they throat punch themselves. They throat punch themselves when they get to the house and they think about what they said.
I get so tired of people telling me that. And the price is not that expensive. That's like my buddy William McDuffie. He drives a modified, IMCA modified, and he told me straight up, he said, I just spent $400 on a Zamp neck brace. He said, surely I can spend $400 on a fuel arrestor that could save me from getting burnt in a fuel fire. And you know what? He's
Correct.
right, because you see it all the time. These drivers spend money what they want to spend money on. Oh, horsepower, all they think about is horsepower, this and that.
Whatever it
breakers,
takes to make them faster, they're not thinking about being able to make it to where you can still make cars fast and be able to survive something that could take your life. They don't think about it that way. You know, that deal with the, dates back to the Earnhardt days. You know, that's when they started really pushing the Haas. They were pushing it before that. You know, and I'm going to tell you, going back
until Earnhardt, you know.
Well, Kenny Schrader did, because he was the first one to see, Kenny, Frank Wilson, actually, that enclosed Featherlight trailer that he has used to be owned by the Square D company that Kenny Schrader drove for. Kenny Schrader used to race out of that trailer.
Very cool.
So we're at Southern Raceway, and I think this is about 2007, 2008, when Kenny Schrader came down there as an invitation. I think he drove modified. So all of a sudden, this is back in my heydays of partying down a lot. We're down there, and, Kenny Schrader's like, I'd like to come down and take a look at that trailer. Says, why? I said, I think that trailer used to be one of the Square D trailers. I said, how'd you figure that? He said, it just looked like a small thing. So all of a sudden, we go down there, and, of course, we sit in that trailer for 3 to 4 hours just drinking beer and having a good time, talking. Out of the blue, and it wound up being his trailer. Out of the blue, Kenny Schrader looks at me and said, Cameron, you know your way around this place pretty good. I said, yes, sir. He goes, I've been here pretty much my whole life, Okaloosa County, not this county, but Okaloosa County. And he goes, how do I get to Sandestin, Florida? And I looked at Kenny, and I looked at Kenny, how in the heck are you going to get to Sandestin, Florida? And he goes, I brought my motorcycle with me. This is 4 o'clock in the morning, let me tell you. And I said, 4 o'clock in the morning, motorcycle. Cameron, it'll be fine. I said, I already know it'll be fine. You're a safe rider. So next thing you know, I'm still, I'm trying to get motivated in the morning. He's already gone on the bike. And he comes rolling in there at about 5 o'clock. He gave me a thumbs up when I was getting out of the truck. And appreciate the directions. He went down 87, jumped on Highway 98, went all the way down to 331. Went up 331 after he went down 30A and all that stuff and came out of Inlet Beach, came back down Highway 98 to 331, went up 331 to the interstate, all the way down to the interstate to the racetrack. That's a long haul.
Wow.
And he went out there that night and won the race. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? So,
wow.
But Kenny Schrader had a lot to talk about. And, of course, I've worked with some good guys like Randall Chupp, and he is huge about safety. Matter of fact, when Frank Wilson first brought on Randall Chupp, Wolfpack Racing at the time, decided to get him a LaJoy seat because,
cool.
Randall was really big about pushing that product, which LaJoy is by far one of the top safety products in the country.
Ain't no doubt.
And it's really amazing. You get a driver that's comfortable and not moving around in their seat, they can feel the car a lot more. You think about how G-forces pass through the body and how G-forces can actually change reflexes of a driver if it's going across the body instead of through the body. And I'll leave it at that because I'll tell you right now, what you're doing, talking about safety and pushing this stuff really is one of the gray areas that people don't really like to talk about on social media.
Yeah. And
it's one of those, how many people actually at these local racetracks go through a safety inspection, and if their belts are out of date, have they ever been parked?
Yes.
No.
And, they need to be. And, I'm one of those people, I call myself this all the time. I call myself the safety Nazi. I'm the guy that nobody wants to talk to. Nobody wants to.
Amen on that, Jared. You and I guess both of me and you are like that. So, yeah, that's worked out pretty good. Safety Nazi. Golly. You're gonna make me have a cramp. Let's
look,
you all right over there?
I need to get. Look, I need to get me a T-shirt, and I need to have my podcast logo on the shirt, and then above it needs to say the Safety Nazi.
Yeah, I'll autograph it for you. Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
We gotta get some stickers made. Yeah, the Safety Nazi. Watch out. You see me running, you better get down and watch out. Look up. Oh, man. See the clouds flying into the air. Are you watching the birds? Nope, looking for tires.
I'm gonna be the redneck version. I'm gonna be the redneck version of Bob the Builder, and I'm gonna walk around with a safety vest on that says "Safety Nazi," and I'm gonna be handing out.
You get away with it with Larry the Cable Guy, right in there with Thomas the Train. You'd be good to go. You know, in Calera, Alabama, they got a train station over there, and I've done some work with Billy Franklin, and you could throw a football from the train station there in Calera to his house. And I went there back when I got out of the hospital, and I was, took our kids up there. This has been, years after I got out of the hospital, like 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
So we're driving old 94 extended cab Chevrolet step-side, bright red, big motor, up the interstate. We pull in there. We're going to see Thomas the Train. I have been a passenger on Thomas the Train. Pretty good.
Oh,
some people call me
cool.
Larry the Cable Guy because of my redneck or my redneck statements and stuff. They call me Larry the Cable Guy. I think that's kind of funny, but
that's awesome.
But I tell you now,
that is spot on.
It's pretty spectacular. You were talking about tires earlier. You said $170, and I was like, whoa, got that one off a little bit. It's like $260 for a late model tire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So that was a pure stock tire then.
That was a pure stock tire. It's back in the day, we used to be able to go to the racetrack. Tile City Retread used to be able to buy it from $60 to $70 a piece. A red dot Tile City. Now, and that tire is built in Kannapolis, North Carolina, the home of Dale Earnhardt.
American made.
It's American made, yes, sir. And the big thing about all that, Tile Cities are hard-working folks. And that's...
ain't no doubt.
But one of the biggest things, these tire manufacturers, I was talking to Anthony Russian down there at East Bay. And, of course, I was down there this year with Hayden Cowan, and I was working for Harold Holly, Rum Runner Racing, Coulter Motorsports. And Anthony Russian, the CEO or one of the high-ups in Hoosier Race Tire, where me and him and Harold Holly were talking. And, of course, my biggest question, and I talked to him before then, I said, is the price ever going to go down? And with a smile, he couldn't give me an answer.
Oh.
And I was and I was just like, because, truthfully, if you think about it, the market, if people are paying, it might go down on it.
Yeah.
It's really you not buying it. What it's going to do, it's going to cause them to have to produce more when the price goes down, have to pay the labor more, so they're going to lose it all the way around.
Yeah.
So, it's so heartbreaking. And of course, they got this new tire out now. Well, they had it with a 1, 2, 3, and 4. And American Racers come out with 5 to 6 different compounds you can run now in that same window. So you see a lot of guys jumping off the Hoosier wagon onto the American Racer wagon. And it, it is what it is. And one of my best friends is Randall Chuck. And Randall has taught me and helped me get to where I am. Anytime I had a question, he would 100% give me, call him and tell him. It didn't matter what time to me. And as far as he's probably one of the smartest under him and Scott Bloomquist are up at the top of the chart. And it makes me feel great that I've actually had the best give me information, and that Scott Bloomquist and Randall Chubb. And then also Harold Holly, which worked for NASCAR. You know, he worked for CR. He won a championship with Joe Green in 2001, I do believe. And then the Xfinity or Nextel Cup or whatever they called it, Busch Grand National, I think is what it was, maybe in ARCA. But you know, you surround yourself with people that can give you the best knowledge, and you understand that the knowledge is from past information learned, not read out of a book and not reading on the computer. Yeah. You know, drivers are getting really young. You know, if you look at the ratio of drivers these days, it's a lot younger by probably 20 years on an average, or probably 10 to 20 years on an average of drivers being younger in the car. So now that's making us make sure that we need to be safer all the way around the board, because we got our kids at a certain age cars. So if you put that equation in, we always want to make sure our kids are safer than us, correct?
That's correct.
We put them first. So, you know, it's this fuel arrestor is big. I look to it. You know, hopefully it'll continue to get bigger. How many have you sold so far?
So, I'm gonna be honest with you.
And I know that's probably a complicated answer.
Yes, but now, I'm gonna tell you a real quick story, and then I gotta end the show because the clock's about to run out.
Not a problem.
But
so
I'll send you No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna send you a video. So we got Kyle Jinks. He's a famous front-wheel drive racer. Races in North Carolina, and he has a page called Front Wheel Drive Fridays, and he goes live every Friday and promotes the SCDRA front wheel drive class. Well, he got in a monster wreck last year at his home track, and Outside the Groove magazine did a story on it, and he was clipped, and you can see it from the dash cam on one of the race cars. And he counted, I think it was 18 rotations that his car barrel rolled down the racetrack. And he blacked out, didn't remember much, but he did remember counting 18 rotations. Well, he bought a fuel arrestor from us, and his car was destroyed, but he had the best of the best. And his hashtag is that he uses is Check Your Safety. And he promotes us all the time. We made a deal where he promotes us, so he promotes us. And he's got him a new car now that he had then, but it wasn't ready. And so since his Nissan got destroyed, he put this fuel arrestor on his Acura he was building, and so now he's racing it for us on a weekly basis.
Oh, that's awesome.
So hopefully and if he could get him a win, that would put our name on the map. And he's got us.
Well,
he
doesn't need to really have the wins are one thing, but the biggest thing is it's in the. When you look at some of the wrecks with ethanol and alcohol before they ever put the dyes in this field where you can see the fire. Yeah. You know, that's back in the days when you could have put one of those in there. That's when it would have took off. The one thing you need to try to get tied into is some way, somehow, get it sanctioned into the sprint car world when they're 100% ethanol or ethanol.
Yes.
That
I would love
is
to have a series sanctioning it. That'd be a huge blessing from God. I'm still praying, and I'm praying for Robbie, and y'all keep Robbie on your prayer list, everybody that prays, because he's needing back surgery, and he's been having to deal with that and some other things. So, but,
it's not like he's been easy on himself. He's a hard-working soul. You know, he's been busy his whole life. You know, once he has the back surgery, it's going to slow him down for a little bit, but hopefully he'll get back where. What exactly? We don't have to get into that. We'll talk about that at a later date. But
yes, and look,
I will give him my praise.
Well,
you're very welcome.
And look, I really enjoy when you come on the show. Every Thursday, if anybody wants to, they can hit the play button and listen. And I encourage everybody to share this live. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you. You're a blessing from God. I mean, you're one of those people that I think the world of, and me and you forever now going to be known as the safety Nazis.
Well, hey, I'm all game about that. Any kind of, just as long as it's the American-made safety Nazis, that's good to go.
That's
but
right.
Anyway,
all right.
Long story short, I really appreciate it. You're doing a really fantastic job. Everything. You can see the love in what you have for what you do. Safety is the big thing. It's underlooked in racing. God bless you all, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.